Roger and Briana are back. Claire makes more ridiculous decisions, and I discuss a brand new theory with you guys right here in today's episode of Outlander Sunday. That's coming up right after this. Roger, what are you playing at, son? Get a HUD of yourself. Yep, Roger and Briana are back on our screens in Outlander, episode 403, The False Bride. It is really good to see them back, but also entirely frustrating. I'll get into that in just a little bit, but first of all, I just want to say welcome to everybody. Thank you so much for watching today's episode of the vlog, an Outlander review episode. If you're new here, please do hit the big red subscribe button down below so that you can see all of my videos from now on and join the clan. It would be great to have you here. And then everybody should hit the notification bell, and then you'll be notified whenever my videos come out. Yes, right here on my channel, I love to talk about Scottish culture. I am from Edinburgh in Scotland. I love Scotland and I love talking about Scotland, and Outlander is a big part of that. So Outlander is now a big part of this channel. Every Sunday we review these episodes. Outlander 403, The False Bride. Anybody who's been online whatsoever, whether you're on Twitter, whether you're on Instagram, whether you're on Facebook, we knew that today would be the episode where Roger and Briana make a reappearance on our screens in Outlander.
It's good to see you.
You too.
We knew that this week was going to be the week that Roger and Briana are back. And I want to talk to you guys a little bit about that in today's episode. And I also want to discuss with you a bit of a theory that my other half-techer has come up with about Roger. Remember, we're non-book readers, so we will be discussing that with you guys later on in this episode. A very rare chance to bring her in on the video, if I can grab her kicking and screaming and put her on screen.
People who come here in their thousands.
And what have I got to say about today's episode was, wow, it was really good, and thankfully, the sad times are over. We've ended the last couple of episodes on really hard times, on really unknown times, and we were thinking after them like, that's bad, this can only end up in a really bad way. But actually today's episode was a totally different note. It was kind of happy sometimes, and we ended on a good note. It was a fast-moving episode, things moved on quickly, we went back in time and forward in time again. For the first time in a long time, we have had the time travel aspect of coming forward in time for Roger and Briana and then back in time again. But we start off in Inverness in 1960 or 19 something, right? In the 1900s we're back, and we see Roger is selling his dad's house, which is obviously quite emotional. He's handing over the keys. It is sad to see it go. It's been a big part of our Outlander set as well. But this is kind of symbolic. What does it mean? Where is Roger going? Is he going to America? He is going after Briana. And then we go back in time to the lands of Claire and Jamie in North Carolina in the 1700s, and we're back at Aunt Jocasta's plantation river run. But we already know from last week's episode that that does not work out, really, does it? We knew that they were going to leave. There was no other logical conclusion to what was going to happen this week. But first of all, before we moved on, there were some interesting interactions with Aunt Jocasta. You know what? I like her a lot. She cares a lot for Jamie. Even though they haven't had a big relationship, she cares a lot for him. They're blood at the end of the day. And she was really kind to him and Claire. So it's kind of sad to see her go as well. And I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if Jocasta will ever be back again in the series. I would suspect that we will see it again. I think there will be more adventures with that. I don't think it's over. I think some of the baddies we met surrounding the River Run episode will reappear to darken our days. But there was a really interesting interaction, I thought, with Aunt Jocasta and Claire. Those two don't get on, they don't see eye to eye. Obviously, Claire's right in saying that slavery was a horrendous thing, needs to stop and all that, but we have to think about the historical perspective. Aunt Jocasta comes from those times. Claire has the benefit of time travel. She has the benefit of living in modern days when we know things are wrong.
Your Auntie Jocasta tells me you're travelling west. I'd be happy to guide you into the Blue Ridge.
It was interesting to see John Quincy Myers come back, a character that I thought last week was a good guy, and it seems like he is a good guy, to be honest with you. He continues and joins us on this episode and travels with Jamie, Claire and young Ian to their next destination and suggests in which direction they should go onwards to set up their home, wherever that's going to be, they don't yet know. But Mr. Myers suggests a place called Williams Creek. I don't know if I'm saying that right. There's a lot of things I don't know how to say right in this. But anyway, Williams Creek, John Quincy Myers says we need to go there From there, you'll be able to do what you want to do. Jamie said he wants to set up a print shop, and Claire can start her medical practices again, and let's just see where it goes. Young Ian, they were going to send him back to Scotland, but he managed to persuade them to let him come along, and of course they were going to say yes, right? They weren't going to send him back to Scotland. Back to the future. Roger and Brianna, they've met. Like, this is just so funny to see them back on the screens again. We were all wondering, like, what was going to happen? Were they going to meet up and, like, all be right again in the world? And, like, apparently, yes. They're boyfriend and girlfriend, right? And they're going on a road trip together. They're going from Boston to North Carolina. Roger has been invited to play some Scottish music and some Scottish songs at a Scottish festival. And I think it was just interesting to see those interactions between the two. Especially, here's something I thought was really interesting, like, and it comes back to a lot of the things I do here on this channel, was the fact that we discussed differences in the language between what we see in Scotland and what you guys see in America. They were talking about French fries and chips, for example, both the same thing, but you guys think chips are something different. And French fries for us, like, we know what it is, but we say chips. So it was like a cultural difference that I already knew about and talk about a lot. And it was brought up in Outlander. I thought it was pretty funny. And it was kind of a good chance for them to kind of restart their relationship. We didn't really know what had happened since Boston, but it was all explained. Roger was selling his house, he was going back there, and then it was a road trip to who knows where. You know what, it was really funny for me seeing Roger being invited to Highland Games in North Carolina. And actually when they were there and seeing all the things that we're doing, it was just so fascinating for me, because, like, it's not something that's massively celebrated for us in Scotland. Yes, Highland Games exist. Let me not be mistaken. Highland Games exist in Scotland, but the majority of the population in the central belt who lives in Glasgow, Edinburgh, and all the major cities in Scotland where most of the population is, the Highland Games are just not something that feature for us. We don't understand that kind of culture very much. It's a great shame, but that's the way it is. So, like, I've been talking with a lot of you guys about this over the last couple of years, about the Highland Games that you have and the celebrations for Scotland you guys have. You take it so seriously, and it's really fascinating for us Scottish people. So it was kind of funny for me to see that being brought into Outlander. Roger going over to an American Scottish Highland Games, being invited there, celebrating Scottish culture in a way that he probably wouldn't at home. And it kind of made me think though, like, it is upsetting that I haven't been involved in any of that type of culture before. It is a Scottish culture, it's a Scottish culture that moved on from Scotland to the colonies, to North America, like hundreds of years ago, and it's a tradition that's been passed down and carried on throughout the hundreds of years that preceded. Well, in Scotland it's just kind of died out a little bit. Not totally, but it has. But, like, maybe this is my time to get involved and get to know these things. I've been talking about doing a couple of documentary series on this channel. I said in my last video that, like, next year I want to explore some really important figures in Scottish history, and I'll be doing full-length big documentaries right here on this vlogging channel about these people. Maybe, and this is another idea I have, I also travel to North America, I travel to Canada, I travel to the United States of America, and, like, do a tour of all the places where Scottish people settled over the years, and, like, learn about how people who live in these areas, which is a lot of you guys watching, have continued the Scottish traditions. Maybe I do that tour. It'll take a long time, I guess, to travel from, you know, Canada down the east coast of America, the central parts of the United States, and then onto the west coast. There's Scottish people everywhere. And it's really fascinating to me to have this connection with you guys who have got a Scottish connection too. And that's what we really saw in this episode of Outlander, is Roger making that journey and discovering exactly the same things. Like, it's fascinating to me to see people from around the world celebrating Scottish culture. And I just think that us Scots need to know more about that. So that is maybe a plan for next year. Let's get talking about that on another day. But listen, today's episode, I really want to talk about one big theme, right? Roger. In today's episode, I discovered that Roger is a bit of an idiot. I've already seen on places like Twitter that this will split opinion, because Roger is loved by everybody. I think Roger's great as well, but today we saw a side of him I don't think we've seen before. And I want to talk about it because there seems to be two camps here. The one camp who thinks Brianna was wrong, and the other camp who thinks Roger was wrong. Throughout the episode I was thinking, Brianna's making loads of moves on Roger. She could not be more clear about her feelings and what she wanted, right? And Roger was like, slow. I was like, Brianna wants you. What are you doing? He wasn't doing anything. And it was just happening throughout the episode, her little hints, and he just wasn't biting at all. I mean, I know, like, he did sing for her, basically. He did sing a song for her, and that was all nice and everything, right? A lot of you guys will love that. I know you guys will love that. And listen, who knew Rick Rankin could sing like that? Is that Rick Rankin's voice? But he was singing, it was all romantic. But, like, he wasn't taking the next step. We're all like, what is going on here? Why are you so slow, Roger? And that came to a crescendo when she invited him back in to the house for drinks. And as she started getting undressed and they started getting close and everything, what does he do? He proposes to her. And they're thinking, all right, here, what's going to go on, Roger? You're a bit slow, but now you're very, very fast.
I want you, Briana. I cannot say it more plainly than that.
Brianna's like, Roger, no, this is not the time for this. I don't want to get married now. And you can understand that. I totally understood that. And then he like threw a big hissy fit. I couldn't understand why he was so upset about that whole thing. And the way he spoke to her I thought was shocking. But like, as I say, this does split opinion. I would love to know what you guys think about this. I think Roger is being an idiot. A lot of you guys think Brianna was being an idiot. I am certainly Team Brianna. Hashtag Team Brie. Roger just like acting slow, not doing anything, and then all of a sudden proposing. What is your game, son? It was interesting to see how he took the rejection as well. Nay bother. And then stormed off. And I know what you guys are going to be thinking at home. You're all going to be like, oh, but he's so romantic. He sung the song and all that kind of stuff. He's doing the right thing. But like, really, is he? There's a part in that that kind of backs up my feelings. Because he basically said to her, if I can't have all of you, I don't want any of you. Or words to that effect, right? He said basically he wants all of her, which includes marriage and all the things that go along with that. As far as we know, they've only really been on a couple of dates. But we do think like Roger is a very old-fashioned type of guy, and that's probably where some of this comes from. His dad was a reverend or a minister or whatever he was, and like he's just like old-fashioned, stuck in the past. He does things that way. Brianna's like more modern and like thinking about things in a more realistic manner. And I just couldn't help think throughout the episode, like, Roger, just give yourself a shake. What are you playing at? Stop getting upset by this. I'm sorry guys, but that's just how I feel about this. But maybe it's just in his build. Maybe it's in his makeup and his blood. I do have a theory about that and why he is like that. Why he's so old-fashioned and stuck in those ways. But to be honest with you guys, it's not totally my theory. It's something that my other half, Tekka, has come up with. And she thought of it way before I did. And we've been discussing this throughout the episodes. And you know what? I just think she's totally right about this. And I wanted to share it with you guys. We both have not read the book, so we could be totally wrong. You guys who have read the books will know this, but we have a theory about Roger, and this might explain the way he is. If you haven't read the books, this is potentially a spoiler. It could just be made up in our minds, because we haven't read the books either. We don't know if this is real or not. But it's a theory. It's not really a spoiler, because we don't know if it's true or not. If people confirm it in the comments, then I guess that would be a spoiler. Anyway, let me grab Tekka. So, this is Tekka. She never ever appears on my vlog, but I am dragging her into it today because a lot of people have asked, why is she not in the vlogs? And why are you not in the vlog? Ever?
Because I don't know how to deal with this. I'm shy.
So Tekka is shy, but she's here today. We watch Outlander together, and we have done ever since the start. We both love it, and we are going to talk about a theory that Tekka has had that I totally agree with. As non-book readers, we might be totally wrong on this, but what is it about Roger that we think is funny and strange?
So I think that Roger is Gailey's son, and he traveled time, and he got adopted by the priest. Is that a priest?
Reverend. Is a reverend. Basically a priest.
And this is a spoiler, Shaun. You should say it's a spoiler. Well, it could be a spoiler. We don't know. But like, I'm 90% sure that he's Gailey's son. Colum. No.
Colum. So when Colum was about to die, because Claire gave him the potion, he was talking about a son.
He said something about Gailey Son. I don't remember exactly what he said. I think he said something like he was adopted. But actually, I think what made me think that Roger is Gailey's son, it's when he was talking about his past. And
he doesn't really know.
Yeah, and he was like, he doesn't know really.
Yeah.
If he is Gailey's son, he can travel time as well.
Yeah, so he's gonna maybe go back with Briana in time as well.
Maybe.
We don't really know because we haven't read the
know.
books. We don't read spoilers really, so this is guesswork. We're guessing. We think that Roger is Gailey's son. So that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true or not. I think that is going to be true in the end. But yeah.
Or I could just be totally wrong.
It might just be
and
crazy.
that makes no sense at all. He's a Mackenzie and Dougal is a Mackenzie, and it's his dad.
Which would make him related to Jamie, which would make him related to Briana.
I did not think about that.
Wait a minute, they'd be related. Briana and Roger would be related as well.
They would be like
cousins.
Maybe that's why they didn't hook up this episode.
But this is Tekka. She never appears in the vlogs, but she probably should. A lot of people say she should appear in the vlogs more, but you don't. So anyway, if you think Tekka should appear in the vlogs more, go and check her out on Instagram. Her link is up there, and tell her on Instagram that you think she should come on the vlogs more. Maybe we'll do like a couple Q&A one day.
Maybe not.
So that's it. You know, Roger, I just don't know. I think he needs a shake. Like, of course Brianna doesn't need to be ready for marriage yet. Anyway, guys, I'd love to know what you guys think about this whole thing with Roger and Brianna. Let me know down in the comments. Let me know about the theory, whether you think it's right, whether you think it's crazy. If you know the answer to this because you read the book, let me know what you think of our theory. We need to move on because we've got another thing we need to talk about before finishing today's episode, and that's Claire and Jamie. They are in the woods, back in time, and there is a storm brewing. We've seen this scene a couple of times in the trailers if you've watched it. There's a donkey that goes missing, and Claire, why does she do this? Why does she do these things? Why is Claire like this? She has to go off on her own, where there's danger. There's a storm brewing, it starts to rain, there's thunder coming, and Claire decides it'd be a great idea for her to go off without Jamie into these dark woods, inhabited by natives, inhabited by wolves, and she's off on her own after this donkey. Of course things are going to go wrong. Why does this happen? Why, Claire? Why do you not just stay where it's safe? It was obviously going to lead to some kind of tragedy, and of course it does, because the lightning hits a tree, Claire's horse bucks her off, and she falls onto the ground and gets knocked unconscious. But you know what, for all that I'm complaining about this, it actually helps build the story, because Claire stumbles upon a skull, which I think is going to become very important, and some kind of magic stone. I didn't really see exactly what it was, but it appeared to be some kind of stone that was buried with the skull. And as she was kind of dreaming at night time, holding the skull and the stone, this Indian guy appears like a ghost of an Indian. He looks scary, he looks angry. But actually in the morning, everything's alright, because this ghost Indian had led Claire back to safety, back to Jamie, and they reunite. So like, this angry looking Indian, who we think is like gonna hurt her at one point, is actually a friendly ghost. And then Claire discovers the skull that she's holding has some silver fillings, which is something that hasn't been invented yet for hundreds of years. So Claire knows that this person, the skull, was probably the ghost of the Indian, is a time traveller as well, and Claire is very fascinated to know more about this guy. And now I'm fascinated to know, he's a time traveller. Who is this ghost Indian? I love ghost stories, I love apparitions. This is just really fascinating and interesting, and I cannot wait to see where this story goes to, because like, add Outlander, which is already amazing, with ghost stories and native Indians and like kilted Scotsmen, and we are just in for a whole world of adventures, and I'd love to know where that goes next. Can't wait for the next episode already. But anyway, it's all good news and happy at the end, because Claire and Jamie have discovered that they actually want to make their home in this area, in these mountains. The Blue Ridge Mountains, I think they are. And they actually find a spot where they think is going to be perfect, along by a river, a meadow with some mountains behind, some trees and areas to plant stuff. Fraser's Ridge. It is here finally, almost. Maybe in the next week's episode we'll find them actually getting onto that ground and building the house. Finally, a good news episode, finally a feel-good episode. It has been long coming, because the first two were quite tense and sad and definitely upsetting as well. This episode felt good at the end. Anyway, that was my opinions, that was my thoughts, that was my review of Outlander episode 403. False Bride. And now I would love to know your opinions down on the comments. Please do drop them into me. But listen, it is Black Friday week, isn't it? That's something that people around the world do nowadays, isn't it? Black Friday. I'm going to be doing a big discount on merch. The details of that are in the description of this video for your discount on all of my merch items, which include t-shirts, hoodies, jumpers, baseball caps, and posters and other stuff as well. I've also put together a nice wee list of stuff that you can buy on Amazon that's Outlander related that you might enjoy on my Amazon shop. The link for that is down below in the description as well. And lastly, a lot of people are looking out for Outlander tours in Scotland. I'm going to be doing some specialised ones, but very, very occasional ones and very limited ones next year. But if you are interested in doing a really good tour that I can totally recommend, because I've been with these guys, I highly suggest going with Rabbies. Those guys are excellent. You will thoroughly enjoy that Outlander tour. Again, the links for all of that are down below in the description. Please do read the description. And if you are new to this vlog and you didn't know this, I have got a wealth of Outlander vlogs on my channel already. Tours of all the filming locations are all there on my channel. You can go and visit them. Lallybroch, Blackness Castle, Doon Castle, all big Outlander film locations, and all on my YouTube channel. Go and check some of those videos out if you haven't seen them already. But that is it for today's episode. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys being here and sharing the Outlander experience with me. And until the next Outlander adventure, I hope you have a good night, morning, evening, afternoon, or whatever time of day it is, wherever you are in the world. Take care.